Hello, thank you for joining the Oikos Family Podcast, episode 67. I'm Sonja Wood, and thank you for joining me. I always feel so overwhelmed, always. I don't know if I will ever stop saying that because it just always overwhelms me that I can sit here at our home in South Africa, see our little South African flag, and I can talk to you, whoever you are and wherever you are. And I feel like I'm talking to you because, I especially get myself a cup of, actually this is coffee today, it's not tea. It's delicious. And I like to just spend some time sitting, talking to you and having a hot beverage. And wherever you are, as I say, it is just to me a privilege. And so I actually imagine, or even though I'm sitting in a studio, I'm really thinking about you, the parent, even the children, whoever happens to be watching, because sometimes it's nice for the children to watch because I like to tell them about little Zachy over here. This is little Zachy. This is our little mascot. There's a lot of stories about Zachy. In fact, you know what I'll do? I'll put a link in the show notes or whatever if you want to hop to the video that's all about Zach and why we have the zebra theme, because we spoke about that previously. So I won't get distracted with talking about that today. Here, I'll put little Zachy back there. He's always with us. It's a very important symbol in the Oikos ministries. And maybe it's specifically important at this time, during this time that we're in this world, where everybody's at home, where we need to focus on the black and the white and not go into the grey zone. There's all that in that other video, which I've mentioned that I will share with you. Today, however, what I wanted to talk to you about is the fact that last podcast number 66, I shared with you all about the many things that we have here in Oikos that we feel are at your disposal. They're just available to you. You don't have to worry about the purchasing and the how-to and the how to get your resources and all the rest of it, because we've got all this available to you, just ready right there, waiting for you to just receive. And so one of the many things that we already have, but we're actually doing more of, is audiobooks. Now, if you've been following previous podcasts or watching Oikos videos, you'll see that audiobooks is something that's become more and more of a topic in the past year or so here at Oikos. And again, when we started making the audiobooks, we didn't know we were going to be hitting a COVID-19 crisis in the world. We didn't know that. We just are so impressed with God because we felt prompted to do this, not just prompted, but compelled to actually turn our books into audiobooks. And you know what? Now these audiobooks are available to you. You just go to oikosfamily.co.za and you can go to store and look at the audiobook category, see if there's any audiobook you particularly like there. Click on it. You can listen to a sample for it and decide if you would like to access that particular audiobook. All right. Now, the thing is that we are not going to stop making these audiobooks. Now, in this time that we are in, this unique, unusual time, we are actually creating more audiobooks. And last week, I narrated one of the books that I've written called Healing Love. And as I was narrating this book, I was thinking, I know why I have to narrate this book now, because it's possible that there's something in that book that can be supportive and helpful to somebody. And if they're at home and they're not in the same state of their normal routine of a lot of demands on them, they can perhaps listen to this audiobook when they're washing dishes or vacuum cleaning the house. You don't need gym. You don't need to go to the gym. You can just vacuum clean your house or clean. That's a lot of exercise right there. But anyway, you can possibly listen to this audiobook. And if you want to find out more about it, what I did more than a year ago was somebody interviewed me about this particular book, asking questions such as, why did you write it? Why is that chapter titled My Mother? And so on. And so I answered all those questions on the interview. And we've got that on the YouTube channel. And so there it is for you. You can listen to the audiobook and you can watch the interview. Now, isn't it interesting? The interview was done more than a year ago. We did it and then we just put it aside. And now it's the time for us to make it available to you, just because the time has come for that now. And it's that very thing, that example that I want to share with you, to say that let's grab the moment in the time that's been presented to us and make the most of it. Let's use this time as effectively as we can to gain whatever it is that we need to be gaining, the lessons we need to be learning in this time. So I think what would be a nice idea actually is when I'm finished talking to you now, I think I'm going to just drop in one of the chapters of this book, or the introduction, or some piece of the Healing Love book that I narrated last week for you, and just to give you an introduction as to what it's all about. I do believe that it can be helpful to you at this time, whoever you are and wherever you are. That's what I believe. And as I said, please don't misread that as me trying to promote something of myself, because it's not that, because the book itself is, once you've listened to the book, you'll realize that it's actually just all about the journey that God has us on and his healing love. It's titled Healing Love for the purpose of him healing us, and his love and how it heals us. And I just feel it's really helpful at this time, because, this book was written more than 10 years ago, and it's always just been available as a physical book. Now we've made it an audiobook for you, and we've got the interview. And I feel as though there's a lot of healing taking place at this time. It's one of the things I was trying to touch on the previous podcast about feeling overwhelmed spiritually in this time, and I believe it's because one of the reasons I feel very overwhelmed spiritually is because of the deep work that God is doing in this time, and one of them is healing on so many levels. And I'm going to pray and trust and believe that healing will be taking place, not destruction, not something that's going to go badly, but it's up to us to lean into God and see what his priorities are, and use this time for healing relationships, building relationships. We know our planet is getting healed. That is clearly obvious already in such a short time, how quickly nature bounces back and heals itself. And so we need to bounce back too. We need to not be trampled down by all of this situation that we're in. We need to rise up. We need to enjoy the valley, walk through it, gain everything we can from it. And I hope you'll enjoy the Healing Love sample that I'll play now at the end of this podcast. So I do hope you're going to find all of this helpful and healing and supportive. And please remember, just email me, Sonja@oikosfamily.coza, Sonja@oikosfamily.coza, and let me know what it is that you might be struggling with as a family, as a parent, at home with your children, if there's something we can do to help you, because I think we might already have the help, is what I'm saying. I think I might be able to give you the help instantly by means of pointing you in the direction of where the help is already there for you. So thank you for listening to this podcast. I appreciate that, and for being with me. If you're watching, thank you for watching. And I just really, really hope you're going to find this Healing Love audiobook to be supportive and helpful. Till next time, bye for now. On the day that my mother, Yvonne, was due to deliver her baby, she stopped at my father's petrol station to inform him that baby number 4 was on its way. Here she met an uncle of hers who was visiting from Durban at the time. He promptly went to the cafe across the road and purchased a large tin of biscuits with a picture of a little girl with long blonde hair on the lid. He proudly presented this to my mother and announced that this time she would be having a daughter. He then bid her farewell and left for Durban, which at that time was approximately a 2-hour journey. On his arrival at his home, his wife gladly greeted him with joyous news. Yvonne has just had a baby daughter. He stood in utter disbelief and replied, "How can that be? I just left her at the petrol pumps." How was he to know that Yvonne had speedily delivered her first 3 babies, all sons? At that time, Gregory, Stephen, and Andrew were aged 3, 2, and 1, so the delivery of her 4th baby was even quicker. From that day, dear Uncle Ray affectionately called me Petrol Pumps. I was otherwise mostly referred to by the name my parents chose for me, Sonja. So this is the account of my arrival here on this earth, a small hospital in Zululand, on the 5th of January 1962, being the only daughter of a family of boys. Believe this, for it is true. A little blonde-haired girl is what I grew up to be. Having strong Norwegian heritage, I did not let Uncle Ray down. By the time I was 3 years old, my parents had moved down the coast from Zululand to Westville, inland from the city of Durban, Natal. It was in this rapidly expanding suburb that our family lived for the next 30 years. My father then started a building and real estate business, which he developed throughout our time in Westville. He is a well-admired and respected, God-fearing man of the community. My father, being of Scottish heritage and my mother of Norwegian heritage, naturally supported strong homemaking and thriftiness. My mother's occupation was home and family, and specializing in that, she naturally passed her passion and skills onto her family. One of her skills was money management. It would simply not do to buy 4 school jerseys if you could knit them yourself for the purchase price of 1. She bought a knitting machine, and so naturally I was taught to knit on this knitting machine from a young age. At the age of 7, my mother bought me my first sewing machine, and sewing lessons began twice a week. For this, I truly was not grateful at the time of my childhood. My friends were playing while I was sewing. Oh, how I thank my mother today for not softening to the cries and complaints of my youth, but rather staying firmly on the course which she knew was going to be of great value for my life. This reminds me of the baking and cooking lessons which were built into the week's routines. At a young age, I was confidently cooking meals for my family of 6. Saturday morning was baking day. By age 12, I was confident in baking biscuits, rusks, savoury and sweet pies, and a large variety of cakes. All this, of course, required dedication and commitment from my mother, and a firm determination to not be swayed by the grumbles she heard from her little bleating lambs along the way.